Frankie Sparks and the Class Pet, Book 1 by Megan Fraser Blakemore, illustrated by Nadja Sorrell. This book is being read by the publisher's permission, Aladdin Books, through Simon & Schuster's Publishing. Chapter 10, Voting. Frankie tried to get Maya's attention in the playground before school, but Maya stayed on the swings, pumping higher and higher. Frankie tried again before morning meeting, but everyone was rushing around. She tried to sit next to Maya during morning work, but Miss Cupid told her to go back to her own table. She even tried to grab Maya during snack, but Maya seemed to be avoiding her. Finally, Maya signed out to go to the bathroom. Two friends weren't supposed to leave at the same time, but Frankie decided that this was a moment when rules needed to be broken. She caught up to Maya right outside the bathroom. "What is it, Frankie?" Maya asked, her voice sounding sad and tired. Frankie shook her head. "I need to tell you something about betta fish," Frankie told her. "Not this again," Maya replied. "I've made up my mind. I want a betta, and I'm not going to vote for a rat." Maya's words stung, but Frankie had a mission. "Betta fish can be with other fish," Frankie explained, "just not another betta. The other fish have to be small and not aggressive, but if they don't bother the betta won't bother them." Maya hesitated. "Where'd you learn that?" "I went online last night." "To find information for me?" Maya asked. Frankie nodded. "I shouldn't have tried to change your mind. Lila was right, as much as it pains me to admit it." "Thanks, Frankie," Maya exclaimed, and threw her arms around her best friend. Frankie hurried back to class with a big smile on her face. The rest of the class was already on the carpet, ready to begin making their arguments. The principal, Miss Flower, was there too. She had a notebook and a pen ready to take down all the information. Suki raised her hand in her perfectly calm way and got to present first. She wanted fish too, but she wanted these special fish that could glow under a black light. She had even brought in a black light, and she shined it on some fluorescent paper to show how the fish would glow. Ben presented about hermit crabs, which Frankie had to admit sounded pretty cool. When a hermit crab outgrew its shell, it crawled out and found a new one. Ben explained how they would need to have a supply of shells on hand, and then they could see which one the hermit crab picked. Nearly all the class had presented when Miss Cupid called on Ravi. He presented on rats before Frankie could, and he shared most of the information she had gathered. Miss Flower asked, "Does the rat need to be fed every day?" "I have an answer for that, Miss Flower," Frankie blurted. "Sorry for calling out." Frankie lifted up her shoebox and pulled out her invention. "I call it the Automatic Rat Feeder 3000. This is the prototype. Can you hold this a second, Ravi?" Frankie looped the wire over Ravi's finger, and he held the invention above the table. Frankie dug her stuffed mouse out of the box and stood beside Ravi. "See, the rat comes along here. Let's say it's Sunday morning. 'Gee, I'm so hungry,' says the rat." Frankie hopped the stuffed mouse along the table. "Yum, food!" She showed how the rat could just push up on the lever and dump new food into its bowl. "And breakfast is served," she declared with a flourish. "Whoa!" exclaimed Luke. "That is way cool." "Yeah," Suki said, "that is super awesome." "Rats like fresh pellets. The tube's lid keeps them from getting dried out. And rats are super smart, so it will be easy to train the rat to feed itself." "Super awesome," Suki said again. Frankie didn't think. Suki had ever thought anything she'd done was awesome, super or otherwise. She couldn't stop beaming. Then Miss Flower proclaimed Frankie's invention very impressive. Frankie thought she might just float right up to the ceiling. It was Robbie's idea, too, Frankie explained. He said we could only have a rodent that could feed itself. So I figured the best thing to do was to make that possible. Well, the two of you have made a very strong case for the rat, Miss Cupid told them. Nice work. She looked at the clipboard on her lap. We do have one more presentation. Maya? Maya had a stack of index cards, which shook in her hand. Maya hated to be in the front of the room. Frankie gave her a big thumbs up, a double thumbs up. Maya took a deep breath and shared everything she had learned about betta fish. It all came out in one quick stream, but she did it. She took another deep breath and said, Thanks to Frankie, I know that there can actually be other kinds of fish in the tank. So if we get a betta, we could get another fish too, like maybe the glowing fish Suki talked about, or another small tropical fish. Maya smiled right at Frankie. Best friends again. Now Frankie thought she might float right up to the atmosphere. Then the voting slips came out. Frankie looked at her square of paper. She thought about voting for the betta fish as a way of saying she was sorry to Maya. But then she thought about what her mom had told her. The best thing about being friends with Maya was that neither one of them had to change who they were. So, as carefully as she could, Frankie wrote rat. Each student in the class put their slips into a hat. Miss Flower opened each slip, and Miss Cupid made tallies on the whiteboard. One for rat, Miss Flower announced, her voice trilling like a songbird. She took another slip and carefully unfolded it. Frankie liked Miss Flower, but she sure could be melodramatic. Frankie wished she would just hurry up. Hermit crab! She pronounced each animal with equal enthusiasm. Rat! Frankie's heart sped up. Could it really be happening? Betta fish! Hermit crab! Glowing fish! Oh, another glowing fish! And another hermit crab! On and on it went, till there was one more piece of paper. Betta fish had 3 votes, and glowing fish had 5, but hermit crab and rat were tied with 6 each. The last vote wins, Ben declared. Unless it's not a hermit crab or a rat, Suki said. If it's a glowing fish, then it's a 3-way tie. Or it could be the betta fish, Maya suggested, and then it would still be a rat hermit crab tie. Miss Flower waved the piece of blue paper around. Then she carefully unfolded it. The final vote goes to. She let her voice trail off. Read it, read it, the class started to chant. Miss Flower studied the paper. Frankie leaned forward. Rat, 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 rat. Hermit crab, Miss Flower announced. Luke hooted and other people clapped, but Frankie felt like a whoopee cushion after it had been sat on. She shriveled down like one, too. Someone shriveled down next to her. It was Maya. She held onto Frankie's hand. I'm sorry, Frankie, she said. Maybe I should have voted for rat. I guess everyone else thought bettas were boring too. Bettas aren't boring, Frankie told her. I'm sorry I said that, and I'm sorry I asked you to vote for rat when that wasn't really what you wanted. It was a funny thing about apologizing. Frankie hated doing it, but as she did, she felt herself puffing up with air. I'd rather have you as my best friend than a rat. That made Maya smile, and that made Frankie soar.